Hey everybody, here's your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 7 to season 3 of The Flash, Killer Frost. And all in all, this is a pretty solid episode of the series. There are a few things I'm not so happy about though, but let's get right into that. So this is of course a really big Caitlin episode as evidenced by the title. And if I remember correctly, this is also another episode, our second, directed by none other than Kevin Smith himself. And like I said, for the most part, this is a really solid episode. The stuff with everybody on the team trying to help Caitlin, and her, like particularly, I really love that scene where her in her Killer Frost persona just absolutely rips into everybody on the team, particularly Barry. She spills the beans about how in the previous timeline Dante was alive, which causes this big rip with Cisco. And I mean, that's just like pure emotional brutality there. And that ultimately leads to the scene where Barry says to her, just lets her Killer Frost out of the cell and says, like, look, I'll let you go. All you have to do is kill me. And he just kind of tells her, like, look, that's not who you are. You control this. And that's what ultimately is able to bring Caitlin back. I mean, that stuff was really well done, and it really, really speaks well to. I mean, it's really something that plays well to Kevin Smith's strengths. I mean, yeah, he can do some rather lowbrow comedy pretty well, but those emotional speeches that people give and really get to the heart of what's going on in a relationship between two people, be it here on The Flash or in something like Chasing Amy. I mean, he does that really well. It's stuff that speaks to the heart. I mean, just think about the Runaway Dinosaur episode with the storybook and Barry and his mother, which is just like, oh my god, it's just like rips your heart out. And we also got to see some more of that between Caitlin and Cisco, where Cisco is there and he's like, look, you're my friend. I'm not gonna, and I don't want to do this with you. I don't want to do this. I want to help you. And again, that really was done well. It speaks for Cisco, and you get to see that whole vibe thing that he had about them fighting in the future did come true. But I can't help but notice in that thing, he was wearing a costume, and so was Caitlin. Here, they're just sort of wearing their regular clothes. So is this just a little bit of creative license, or is that something that maybe Cisco didn't quite realize? Yeah, this isn't exactly what I saw. He actually saw further into the future. Although they did have some specific shots in this episode that seemed almost exactly for what Cisco did see in his vision. So, well, regardless of what happens in this episode, I seriously doubt we've seen the last of this Killer Frost side of things. I mean, it's just too good not to do something else with down the line. Probably when Team Flash once again needs Caitlin the most. And I absolutely love that Killer Frost got to do, the whole kiss the hero thing and suck the heat out of him, turn them all blue. I mean, that's just such a classic kind of Killer Frost thing. Let's see, what else? So I also liked that HR is kind of starting to prove himself to Team Flash. I mean, he is, as he has said, kind of an ideas guy. But here, at least on two different occasions, he demonstrates that he has really good ideas. I mean, it's his idea that, have Cisco and Caitlin teleport over to where Barry is that allows them to save Barry from Savitar. And, him not being a scientist sort of person, that's kind of causing a lot of people to just dismiss him. But HR has shown that he's a pretty adaptable guy. He's very good at taking in information and processing it and turning it into ideas that are viable. I mean, he's the ideas guy. The nuts and bolts he can leave up to Team Flash, but he's good at offering a perspective that they themselves lack, and that can be a very crucial thing. So I also really like that scene that he had with Joe, and kind of getting Joe to be a little bit more honest about how he's feeling. and just sort of drawing him out during this incredibly tense time. And of course, Joe has to go and do something stupid, which messes things up for Wally. Um, I mean, that story really didn't go much of anywhere. All they had to do was basically go over to Wally's old house, which I'm like, okay, did you maybe check the house he grew up in? I mean, that was the first place that came to my mind. And then all they have to do is, jab him with the magic medicine that Caitlin came up with once she wasn't crazy and evil anymore, and bam, he's good to go. So, I mean, that's all well and good. And you can kind of see, if you think about it, where they're going with this. Savitar is an extremely serious threat, despite the fact that he looks like, like Megatron and one of those, like, it's sort of like a weird mix of Megatron and Barth and, like, the Lich King from Warcraft with that sort of blue glow inside of him. Savitar looks ridiculous, but whatever. Okay, I'm gonna have to live with it. So, now we've got Wally with speed powers over on Earth 2. We've got Jesse with speed powers. Jay over on Earth 3 has speed powers. I have a feeling that they're building up for like a genuine Flash family teams up to take down the bad guy, which is totally in keeping with the comics. And what I like here is they say that they really heavily imply that Savitar is imprisoned in the Speed Force, which is more or less how Wally defeated him originally in the comics. So, who imprisoned Savitar in the Speed Force the first time around? Now, normally I don't like to do speculation, but man, the first thing that jumps to my mind, Max Mercury. Max Mercury, if I remember right, I think he had some history with Savitar. And, the whole, like, since season 1, they've been teasing Mercury Labs. So, Max Mercury is a really great character. I would totally love to have him come on the show. And it would be very interesting to have, Barry have, once again, this sort of older potential mentor type speedster around. Except this is not somebody, Max is, not really the warmest of people. This is not somebody who's like Jay Garrick, who's, a very sort of dad-like mentor. Max Mercury was, in fact, once even described as sort of like the Zen master of speed. I mean, if you read the comics, you would even see him meditating while, immersing himself in the Speed Force. But again, that's just kind of speculation on my part. But I would absolutely love for them to do Max Mercury down the road. And I can't imagine, given his place in Flash history, that they wouldn't at some point. Let's see, what else? Of course, we have in this episode Greg Gunder, whatever the hell his last name is, probably best known as Matt Parkman on Heroes, although he popped up, if I remember right, in the last Star Wars. It was the Star Wars movie in a small role. And apparently he's good friends with Kevin Smith, and he's going to be a recurring character, not somebody from the comics. Okay, I thought Matt Parkman was a reasonably good character on Heroes, so cool. Then, of course, we've got the whole thing with what's going on with Julian, and here it's kind of like, oh yeah, turns out he's Dr. Alfred. Well, we all kind of saw that coming. I was hoping for some kind of a twist on this, but just given how freaked out he is when he sees the alchemy costume at the end of it, I think it might be doing like some sort of split personality thing, which would be very keeping with what we saw from Caitlin this episode. Kind of a nice little ironic mirror there. But again, that's also something that people have been seriously predicting might be what's going on with the character from the beginning. So if that's the case, then I'm kind of disappointed here. Now, the idea of Dr. Alchemy being some sort of servant to Savitar, I mean, that's interesting. In the comics, that was actually Magenta, who sort of fulfilled that role as the superpowered servant of Savitar. But yeah, I'm just really not super digging this. Although apparently Tobin Bell is also doing the voice of Savitar. So you've got Alchemy and Savitar being voiced by the same person. It's something we might want to you might want to keep in mind. It would be interesting if somehow these two characters ultimately ended up being the same person. And again, that would just mean like three blonde dudes, evil blonde dudes, who became speedsters and absolutely freaking hate Barry. Like, damn, Barry. If anybody blonde ever seems to want to be your friend, stay the hell away from me. Let's see. I guess it should be pointed out, and this is one thing that has kind of bugged me about Savitar for a long time, ever since the character was I met the character in the comics. Referring to him as the Hindu god of speed and motion seems to seriously be stretching Hindu mythology from, as best I can tell, but it's comics. I also really like that they mentioned that HR, in one of his really insightful moments, points out that Barry's true superpower is hope. This is a nice nod to how, in the comics, Barry temporarily became a member of the Blue Lantern Corps, whose whole thing is hope. Now, it's also interesting that after Caitlin kidnaps Julian, Barry strikes that deal with him. That, like, hey, look, man, I'll do whatever you want, just don't rat Caitlin out. And Julian says, okay, you resign from the police force, and I'll keep quiet about this. I mean, he really reads Barry the Riot Act over all the stuff that he's done that gives Julian some very genuine reasons to be upset with Barry. Now, it's easy to look at this situation and think like, hey, man, Barry saved your life just the other episode. Don't you kind of owe him that? And, why doesn't Barry just say, like, hey, man, I saved your life. You owe me one. Okay, it's easy to think that. But if you think that, you're missing a very significant point, especially about Barry. And that's that Barry holds life to be sacred. I mean, he's like Batman. It's like, this is the same reason why Batman doesn't kill the Joker. That life is sacred to these people. A person's life is not a commodity. It's not a bargaining chip. It's not a marker that you can call in. The idea of saying, I saved your life, therefore you owe me, it goes against everything that someone like Barry would stand for. Him saving Julian was there because Julian had the right to live. He deserved to die by having a sign fall. He is a living being, and therefore, as a hero, it is Barry's duty to save him, no matter what. So trying to cash that in is something like a debt. I mean, it goes against what Barry really stands for. And in not even thinking about that, it really shows that Barry is an extremely principled and good person. And you kind of can't help but wonder what would have happened if Barry had just kind of come clean with Julian and says like, look, dude, the reason I'm doing all this crap is because I'm the Flash. Then again, given Julian's attitude towards metas, yeah, which is kind of a bit of an anomaly because for the most part, the Central City cops, I mean, even guys besides Joe, like Captain Singh, seem to be extremely favorably disposed towards the Flash. They've cooperated with him. The Flash has saved the lives of police officers on numerous occasions. He's been honored by the frickin' mayor of the city. I mean, the Flash is basically, got the city's seal of approval. I mean, I still love that episode, that speech that the mayor gave. That, the particle acceleration happened, and all these crazy metas started popping up. And it made for some really dark times for the city. But it also gave us the Flash, this person who seems like a living miracle. But, sacrifices like this, like giving up the job that, he was basically meant for, the place, outside of Star Labs where he really belongs the most, the place that allows him to do so much good without really any thought in order to protect his friend. I mean, that's another part of what makes Barry a great hero. I mean, never mind the fact that it's going to be totally easy for him to get put on the payroll over at Star Labs, and he can just kind of hang out there with his friends all day. But yeah, it's. I have a feeling job-wise, Barry's going to be okay. Now, my big criticism of this episode is like when Caitlin said that whole thing about like, yeah, in the other timeline, your brother was alive, and Barry creating Flashpoint is what caused him to get killed. Well, this kind of seems like a rehash of the whole Barry, why don't you time travel and save my brother thing that we did in the early part of the season. In fact, it really would have been, in my mind, somehow better to lead with this and have Cisco go like, okay, you did this, you screwed with reality. Yeah, I'll call it good if you go back in time and save my brother. You can't go back in time and save your brother. I mean, it's something that did need to be addressed, but again, it just comes off here as like such a rehash. Also, it's going to be seriously awkward because Cisco and Barry are living together. I have a feeling Barry's going to be crashing with Joe for a while. I mean, Iris has her own place. Yeah. Barry, go stay with Iris. And that's another thing that I really like this episode, where he has that really great conversation with Iris about how like I couldn't do this without you. Again, it's so in keeping with the Barry and Iris relationship that she is really that anchor, that rock that keeps him grounded. Anyway, I think I've talked about this episode enough, so we're going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi, and please also join me on Tumblr at Jedi Review. See you next time. Take care and have a good one.